steps forward, 3 steps back, and I knew right from the jump I'd get too attached. But I fell hard, who can blame me for that? When I knew right from the jump it was a perfect match. Thought I learned my lesson, started playing by the book. All that self-improvement out the window with one look. Look me in the eye, hold me close just for tonight. Watching hours passing by, and I want to last till the morning light. So do you think I'm just desperate when down on my luck? Or do you know that I'm obsessed with how it feels when we fall? Whoa, I think I'm addicted to love. I'm out of sync, self-inflicted, but it fits like a glove. Whoa, I think I'm addicted, I just can't get enough. I'm on the brink, it's so predicted, but it feels so off the cuff. And I know that it's a waste of time, but I can't survive without the high. So I think I'm addicted to the way that we touch. I'm like a lovesick junkie begging you for one more little puff. You got me messed up, stressed, depressed, riding in my bed, overthinking every single word you said, 'cause I'm too invested. I feel possessed. Am I crazy for wanting us to be mutually obsessed? Look me in the eye, say you need me to survive, anything to make you mine, even if it's only one more night. So do you think life is hell and I'm your one stroke of luck? Or do you know that I can tell that you don't really give a fuck? Oh, I think I'm addicted to love. I wanna scream, so conflicted, but you're making me blush. Whoa, I think I'm addicted, the adrenaline rush. I know you're lying to my face, but I won't ever call your bluff. And I know that it's a waste of time, but I can't survive without the high. So I think I'm addicted to the concept of us, but with the way you look at him, I know I'll never be enough. I'm so hung up, I've had enough, I wanna quit this. I'm so fed up with lust and love, don't know the difference. Am I a whore if I adore this cheap ambivalence? I know that it's out of my control. All I want is to feel beautiful. Whoa, I think I'm addicted to love. I'm out of sync, self-inflicted, but it fits like a glove. Whoa, I think I'm addicted, I just can't get enough. I'm on the brink, it's so predicted, but it feels so off the cuff. And I know that it's a waste of time, but I can't survive without the high. So I think I'm addicted to the way that we touch. I'm like a lovesick junkie begging you for one more final puff. Like, whoa. Or so I think I'm addicted. I'm an idiot for thinking I was worthy of your love.
And boom. Okay, first things first, I gotta get this out of the way before something happens. My computer has crashed 3 times in a row, so if it crashes during stream, I will say most likely I'm not going to continue, so that is very unfortunate, but we'll see how that goes. Hello Doc, how's it going? Apparently somebody got a rework just now. I was told there was a rework live. Wait, so hell yeah. Let me do something real quick. Where's the did I press the button? I think I did. I remember doing it. Yeah, I'm logged into YouTube. Okay. Resting out a day of trucking, hauling all day. Hell yeah. Good to see that your career is going pretty decently. Oh. I thought it was gonna be like extra loud because I forgot to check the volume. Yes, it was not. May I have the Warframe ban really healed you? Yeah, that's good to hear. Let me see. I ate already, so I'm not gonna be munching in the microphone today. But however, I don't think I have enough food for oh! I actually do have news. So apparently my blood pressure is really high. It's so high that the dentist said that if the blood pressure is too high when we see him again, I'm not gonna be able to fix my tooth because my blood pressure will be too high. We're assuming it's too much salt, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna stop getting McDonald's altogether. Some smack on those cheeks would make them fall, yeah. Verify my identity. Okay, I can do that. Ow, bo. Oh, motherfucking, there we go. Copy, paste. Streaming, there we go. Oh yeah, I gotta like do a thing. Hold on. Let's do this one. Boom. Warframe. But yeah, my computer has crashed 3 times this morning. I tried to remedy it by turning off it always happens when Firefox is on, so there could be a problem with Firefox.
Your weapons need to be stripped down and cleaned regularly, including me.
It's happening more frequently though. But also doesn't seem to happen when my computer's like doing something else. Does that make any sense? It's weird. There we go.
You still got that old killer page. I have to send you a text or two. Just so you know. Thinking.
I'm actually curious how my video is doing, but I don't want to check right now. I kind of sort of, I do and don't at the same time. It's weird. I need to fashion this now. Let me see how much Vubon's skin costs. So it's either it's 400. It's 400 platinum. I could get a hold of 400 platinum really easily. Actually, I just want to wait for a ticket. Because I wanted to give it to my girlfriend. We kind of sort of did a transaction of sorts, but I won't get too far into what the transaction was. But yeah, I wanna take that. There's this weird thing, I remember, oh shit! Oh, I forgot to make a fucking video yesterday. I unironically actually just straight up forgot. Damn. It's fine. Omnia Fisher, I don't want to do the flood. Video conjunction survival a lot. Oh, I have a whole Urelli. Okay. Oh no, I don't have. Wait, I do. Okay. Is he on right now? Oh, yeah. Was it fast food? I need to double check actually, hold on. I think it was fast food who mentioned they wanted to... Yeah, it was fast food, okay. Yeah, fast food wanted your Ready Prime. I have one. I think it... Yeah, it was your Relly. They wanted 2 of them. I think they want to give it to somebody they know. Probably. I asked, oh, what the fuck? Who? What was that? Huh? Hey, how's it going, Jack? Oh shit, I'm doing good. Gas tank's full, what the fuck? I heard. Am I tripping? That was weird as hell.
I can't believe you've got
So I heard something about keeping the gas tanks full coming from around here. It sounded like one of the Hex members. But what the fuck? That was really fucking weird. It came from here. That was interesting. I don't know, but that was weird. But yeah, I'm trying to get a hold of Fast Food to see if he wants to get the Rally Prime. Hey Akuda, how's it going? Oh crap. Sharky. Wanting heirloom? Yeah. My girlfriend wants the heirloom as well. I currently am currently trying to figure out how I can make like 400 platinum. I either want to make 400 platinum or I want to get platinum after I get a ticket. But I have to wait for a ticket specifically. I'm even saving money. Only got 65 platinum? Yeah, I unfortunately have 10. It's enough for a Forma if I rush it, but yeah. Speaking of which, yeah, I have one cooking. Oh yeah. I only have 2? Damn. They didn't go fast, but they went nonetheless. I had like fucking, what was it? 50 Forma at some point, and they're just fucking gone. I like how Warframe asked the community, what would you like? Would you like us to make Plague Star come every 2 weeks like Barrow and have like a limited supply of Forma? Or do you want it to come every once in a blue moon and have it unlimited like it is right now? And they said, keep it as is. I think I agree with that decision because it makes it to where it's more special. I think the specialness of the event is what kind of sort of drives it, if that makes any sense. But we know it's coming back eventually, but like we basically were having this thing where it's like yeah. Yumi Dojo? Okay. Clan. I hope we're gonna be able to find each other. Insane. Oh shit. How do you do it to make platinum so I don't have to gamble with Warframe market? Yeah. I'm excited to give him this year. It's been yeah, there we go. One confirm. Boom, boom, boom. And like, there we go. Oh, 100 plat. Thank you. 100 platinum is actually a pretty interesting price to see for a running prime. Hey. There you go. Oh, he's got the heirloom skin. Look, Besson's got the heirloom skin. Hell yeah! Look at that. It's purple like he usually makes it. It's one of that I'm desperate. Yeah. Yeah. I need to save up platinum. I think. Where's he going? Is he going to the treasury? You know. I know. But anyway, I need to save platinum because technically I bought something from my girlfriend, so I'm gonna ask him. Oh. How have you been doing? I'm actually very curious how he's been doing. Been a while since I've heard from him. I hope he's doing okay. Oh, so he's been watching the streams. Okay. So, oh, I was wondering who's been showing up and not saying anything. Hey. Let me fix this up. Only minor inconveniences. Only minor hold on. Only minor. I put that in the wrong place. My bad. Yeah, I've only had like minor inconveniences for a while. One thing is though, it seems to be that the minor inconveniences are the most annoying. Yeah. I am poof. All right. I checked them on him. I feel happy about that. Let's go. Let's go do this mission I wanted to do. I could possibly get a second Urele, which can get me like up to 200 if he's able to get another one. Actually, I want to check something. Is there a steel path? It took a little bit. No, there is not. Okay. So I need, I believe, the system and the neuroptics. Let's go for the neuroptics first. Oh, okay, hold on. I think I think I've mentioned this before, but I like grindy games, but sometimes sometimes the grindy game does feel a little bit too tedious. Sometimes, not all the time. Keep in mind I'm saying sometimes. It is the relics. Due to the fact that the relics have this thing where I have to farm something.
More kibble for the drugs.
Vubon parts price double. Oh! Vubon price parts doubled? Okay, that's good to know.
Corrupts her best troops. She continues to send more. What is she after?
But there's this weird thing where there's a difference between like a grindy game and a game that feels like a grind. And usually, I'm not sure how to explain it. It's like a certain kind of feeling. It's a very specific kind of feeling.
Stand by for life support.
It's like a... It's kind of like a weird thing where like grind can be really good if it's obvious that you're making progress. I think that's when it... I think that's where it is. Not even like not even making like a big amount of progress. It's more like if it's obvious that you're making progress. I know one thing is I could probably do is I could probably do the trick where I grind for something else, and me grinding for something else will get me to do that.
You may use it.
Yeah. Oh, I see. I think fast food's in the chat. Hello, fast food. But yeah, it's a weird thing where like grinding kind of sort of has to be it has to feel like you're doing something, you know? What tends to help is grinding for multiple things, but like that thing you happen to be... It's like a thing where like you grind for a thing that's easy to see, while inside of a mission that grinds something else, if that makes any sense. I think Warframe has a good feeling of that, where it's like... Warframe, Warframe has the ability to grind multiple things at once, which I think is really cool. There's actually a bunch of games that don't really do that, where you're able to grind more than one thing at a time. I had a difference between Warframe and First Ascendance. Yeah. The first Ascendants, you were grinding for one thing and just one thing every single time you're going and doing stuff. And it didn't feel right. When it comes to Duet Night Abyss, they actually mastered the ability of making it absolutely completely obvious that you're getting stuff. So they actually did a pretty good way to do it too, right? I like Duet Night Abyss as well. But Duet Night Abyss had this magical ability to make it obvious that I'm getting ground. You know, where the fuck is the... Where's the guy? Hold on, I need to go back there. I think I have to go back. Yeah, it's back over here. This guy's surrounded by stuff.
The relic has been cracked open. Finish your mission to find out what's
Okay, I can grab it maxed out now. I wonder why I'm not getting blast procs. This thing usually comes with blast. Or what? It forces blast status. What the hell? Whoops. Oh, there we go. That was weird. Yeah, this is actually super weird. What? Doesn't it force blast status? Yeah, it does force blast status. What's going on? It's sometimes not forcing it. That's weird. I think that I'm one-shotting them. I'm marking for this person. They need to get over here quick. He's coming, he's coming. Come on, dude. You can do this. You can understand what I'm trying to get from you. Let me mark something. Dude, you're gonna miss it. Fuck. There goes his, damn.
The longer you hold out, the deeper I can search. But if you need to leave, extraction is ready.
I tried to tell him without typing. I probably should have typed. Get some water.
Hiding Lua in the void risked the unfathomable. I fear we are seeing the consequences of that risk now. Destroy these void-stained enemies.
But yeah, Fast Food is right. The first Descendants have that issue like really badly. Is the entire game you're farming one thing at a time. But like it was also slow for what it was doing. And it also wasn't obvious that you were getting what you were looking for. If that makes any sense. It's like a thing of like if you're gonna farm one thing, you should probably make a lot of progress on it really quickly, which is what Duet Night Abyss does. Or you need to make it to where you're farming multiple things at a time, which is what Warframe does, you know? Like right here, I'm not only getting void traces to farm the thing I want to farm, but I'm also getting cool shit that is like going into other sets, right? But like,
A lovely little song, all for me. Did it drown out the desperate barking from the friends you left behind, dreamer? Sit, Bruno, sit.
it's a very interesting thing. So I got distracted by fucking worm of all people. Okay.
Well done, Tenno. Your relic is opened.
I will say, I remember, when I first met Fast Food, he streamed a couple of times. But he said like he was running into many money issues, and I was like, oh, I hope he gets some way to like get money that's reliable. And I was worried about him because he just stopped streaming for a while. Although I saw him Warframe a couple of times, but now that I know that he's got a job now, because he said he was working, it really puts me at ease a little bit. Now his thing where he didn't have money is probably a little bit solved. Not completely solved, you know, jobs they don't give you like an ass load of money most of the time, but at least he's got something. Which is nice. It's good to see that he's doing good. I think I always mentioned, I think I mentioned a few things of like, always treat streaming like a hobby. No matter what your goal is, but definitely never forget that you can always find some other means to fund yourself, you know. And I guess it's also okay to like come to the conclusion that it's not for you, especially since like you know, it's more of a thing where it's like it really isn't like the most reliable moneymaker. Are they over there? They are over there. Is that a Harrow? Wait, is that a Harrow? Hold on. Okay, no, that's a Caliban. Okay. Am I missing something? Okay, never mind. I thought they were saying something and I was missing it. This guy is like just sitting there. Oh, there we go. He's moving now. I think he might have been busy.
The Grenier and Corpus came here in search of treasure, but only found oblivion. They are trespassers here.
I will say though, the fact that I'm kind of somewhat consistently getting payments of $50 every other month is pretty cool. Cause like I guess it's like it's really cool that like it happens. It's probably not like the greatest thing, since you know apparently it isn't really all that difficult to get affiliate. But it's more difficult to get partner. but I think it's pretty cool because I'm able to put that money into like investing in you guys. Not investing, but like put that money back into the stream so I can entertain you guys even more, you know? I think I agree with that one I agree with that one content creator who was like, it's much better to to support a streamer that puts at least like a decent amount of the money they get from you into the streams, into you, basically into the community in some way. I think I definitely like to practice that too. Every single time I've had a payment, I've always did something with the games with full intentions of showing it to you guys, you know? Platinum for more build, I think I also might have done it's mostly platinum. I know it's mostly platinum. I don't think I've used it on anything else so far. Maybe Primo Gems? I think I did it on no, I didn't do it on Primo Gems last time. Last time I actually wasn't playing Warframe yet, and Genshin yet. After I started playing Genshin, I started to like lean more towards doing what I feel like doing rather than what people think I should be doing. That guy just got disintegrated. But I think doing what I feel like doing has been a lot better for me. I actually also developed a policy of like so I go on Blue Sky now. I have a full-on policy that I've been keeping as straight as possible, that if somebody were to post too much politics, I block them. Mostly because like I don't want to see that shit. I don't want to have that shit on my I don't want to think about it, you know? Not that I don't care, it's just that I just don't want to see it right now, you know? But I had to block a couple of people because even though I'm a part of the adult artwork community in Blue Sky, they still have this thing where they're still people, you know? They're gonna post about what concerns them sometimes. And like I said, I have that rule: if you post about politics, I'm gonna block you. I don't want to. I know it's a social thing, where like that's kind of so what people care about. But the thing is that I don't feel like I want to get involved in that shit. Especially since most of the conversations that happen about that topic are really volatile. To a point where I don't think I would be able to handle like talking to anybody about it necessarily. Maybe in private with people I trust to not like get, I guess, hateful. But I rarely ever talk about those things. I feel like it's not something I have a place in, you know? Because I'm a video game content creator. I don't belong in that conversation, you know? Especially since, you know, to be absolutely completely honest, if you're watching somebody who plays video games, do you really want to know their opinion on that shit? No. I'm not gonna alienate my entire half of my audience saying something stupid, you know. I guess like the smart thing to say is just like I play video games. It's not my place, you know.
Just the spot in the kennel for her.
The queens have sought out Warframes before. Vor sought to present them with yours. We cannot let the worm have Voluna.
I think it's probably something that a lot of people tend to kind of sort of forgo, you know. Is that there's a time and place for everything, but I don't think entertainment is like I don't think like escapism is a good place to be putting something that is real.
These manifestations must not be allowed a foothold on Lua. Life support is at risk. Destroy them.
I think the big thing is like the fear of having the conversations are not centered in like disagreeing with somebody. It's in how it can get out of hand really quickly. I think that's usually what ends up bothering me about it. Is I don't mind if somebody has another opinion, but it's not the same concept for most people. I think I'm a little bit more happy though. I really liked the Genshin's story. So I decided that instead of waiting for stream and doing it during stream and shit, I would do it in the background. And I just sat there in the quiet. No YouTube video, no music, and I just experienced Genshin's story, and I'm just like, I see why people like the game. I guess how do I say this in an interesting, how do I say this in an appropriate way? I guess if Duet Night Abyss ends up going offline, I will at least have a game that I recently discovered that is something I like, that will be able to replace that hole. Because I love, you know, like I said, even though I don't play as much, Duet Night Abyss is literally my favorite game. I think Genshin is a close runner-up. I don't know if it would fully beat like the one that I don't think it would replace the one that I had as my top for like almost 20 years, but I think Duet Night Abyss definitely is the one to do that. And it's mostly centered around, it's not necessarily how the story and gameplay is in actual quality. It's how it resonates with me more than anything. I think that's what ends up causing it to be a lot different, you know? It's less about, hey, is it good, and more about, hey, does it resonate with you? I think that's why even though Genshin was pretty good story, it didn't, like, resonate with me as much. Because it didn't touch upon subjects that really are like really touchy for me. I think Duet and Abyss was the one that managed to do that, you know? But I think Genshin was close to hitting that spot. I think Genshin was super close to hitting that. I think what tends to have a thing with me, like a really big like resonation, is loss, I think. It's like losing someone and losing something or someone and not being able to get them back. I think it's like the big thing, you know? With Genshin, it was more like power of friendship, but like made in a very interesting way. But for me, it's less about how how important my friends are to me. It's more about
drawn to this cursed place
like how is it that I would be able to deal with losing people, you know? I say like that's like the heavy topic that I would resonate with a lot, you know? It's not about like persevering and being able to do something about someone I'm about to lose, but it's actually more about like dealing with the loss itself, you know? I think that's actually one of the reasons why Duet and Abyss's side quest, the one with the girl, Annie, was extremely important to me, I think. Because I think, to be completely honest, I think partially the situation is that the story with Annie is like one of the side quests that I like the most. Actually, no, I think it probably might be one of the best side quests I've ever had. Because rather than, it's also the thing of like all the side quests in the beginning area are like really good. Where it kind of sort of asks me like really, really hard questions that specifically resonate with me. I think a game that forces me to answer those questions in a way that pits my morality and my psyche against itself is a lot more important for me than I thought it would be, you know? It's like, I know I'm gonna be a good person, right? Because that's kind of sort of how I do things, right? I tend to be someone who wants to be a very good person. But that's not the question that I resonate with the most. It's how, in being a good person, will I choose to go about dealing with a situation that is like dealing with the loss of somebody, right? It's like no. It's more like which part of my morality is more important than the other, right? And do I focus on the someone's happiness, or do I tell them the truth? Do I do I work with personal freedom, or do I work with happiness? You know, I think those questions are a lot more important than I thought they were. Than I think they are. You know, and there really isn't a game that asks those questions. Vubon is so back. Oh, that's cool. Also, hi Guts, what's it going? But I think that's the thing I seem to be missing when it comes to games, is being able to ask me not just am I gonna be a moral person, because the answer is gonna be yes, but what is more important in my morality, you know? Back in my old mainframe, what are you doing? I'm currently talking about what I analyze as like the reason why Duet Not Abyss resonates with me so much. And I think it's because it's asking me questions that no other game can ask me. I think that's important, you know? Because I have this thing where like, you can't ask me a moral question, because I'm always gonna take the moral high ground, if that makes any sense. I've always been like somebody who cares too much, right? But it's more about how I'm gonna go about being a moral person is the question, you know? I think that's what the thing is. Like, there's two moral options. Which one is more favorable, you know? I think the one I was using as an example was this one quest that asked me, do I lie to these people and make sure they're happy? Or do I tell them the truth and make sure that they're not lied to, right? And I unironically chose to lie to them because it's extremely important that I don't sacrifice someone's happiness for a little lie, and for a truth, you know? The whole reason I want to tell somebody the truth is because it will make them happy. But if the truth is something that is extremely detrimental to their happiness, will I ask them the question? Will I answer their question? You know. I think that's the question that I was asked, and that's why I say that's one of the most important side quests I've ever played. Even though it's not necessarily important to like the game, it's important to me, you know? I think Duet Not Abyss solidified itself as my favorite mostly due to that side quest, to be completely honest. That side quest had me not mentally broken, but like it had me actually thinking about my own morality. I think that's a question that people fail to have the ability to ask, you know? I think it would be interesting if there was more of that. I told Lydia our daughter was dead, because why would I lie about that? Yeah. And that's the thing is like, they're both morally correct options, but they have two extremely dire consequences. Does that make any sense? I think that's the interesting thing, because it's not even a bad or good ending thing, it's the ending that you get. Does that make any sense? Because there's also a lady who spent her life living in her dreams, right? Does she game over herself? No, she doesn't. She just... I think they recover after I think they recover according to the story. But they're alone, basically. One has to deal with the fact that her daughter died and some lady tried to replace her. and the other one has to deal with the fact that she now has no memories and no resources to be able to take care of herself. But the thing is that they get to, they'll grow from it a little bit, because that's basically how they did it. They didn't want to like erase an NPC or something, but they're both gonna be like kind of miserable. And I had to, and basically what I chose was the option of like choosing their happiness, because they were both sick. And as someone who has 2 sick people in their house, like me and my mom, it's better to have 2 sick people take care of each other than have both of them be alone, you know? That's what I had as a thing. But the thing is, they're gonna be living a lie where the daughter basically, well, here's also another thing. I remember reading the note, and the daughter basically said it was the daughter's idea. So that's also another thing of like, do I respect the wishes of somebody who was dying? Or, yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah. I think they're done soon. I think they're done like now, actually. Actually, I'll let Gods of Oz let me know. So the daughter was the one who told the girl to take the clothes and go to the city. It unironically was the daughter's idea to do this. So I also had to choose between like, do I respect the final wishes of somebody and let them take care of each other, or do I like, you know, it's like a thing of like the truth versus or do I have them have proper send-off, right? It's either do I make it to where they can have a proper funeral, right? Or do I respect their final wishes, you know? But I've always had this thing where I've always thought like funerals were not my style, if that makes any sense. That's the best way to put it. It's the nicest way to put it. But I think her final wishes were more important than her funeral rites, I think. Because that's what I got from the story. I wasn't entirely clear if that was the case, but I had a feeling. But she, yeah, contemplate. They can both bond over the trauma and make the family everything down. Probably. One thing is, though, I don't know if that would work. Well, that could probably be a risk you could also take as well, which is really interesting as well. I think that's also another thing with the thing is like they could bond over the trauma. I think one thing is though, as well though, as someone who has dealt with a lot of people, in most cases, a lot of people who have tragedies like that basically have this thing where they blame the survivors. So there is a thing where there could also be resentment. That's also a thing that I understand like sometimes happens. Not only that, but she's also going to resent herself. But then again, it's like we would definitely have to... there won't be a continuation of the story, but there's only theories we can have. But, yeah, I think that's a very big thing. It's like a weird thing of like... It's a thing where you have to choose between truth and lies. You know, lie for them to be happy or tell the truth for them to know the truth, you know, to have peace. Happiness or peace, I think, is like the option there, and you really want to put it into like simplicity. I think my brain at the time gravitated more towards, actually no, actually still does a little bit. I gravitate more towards happiness because I think it's like a thing of like I spent my life miserable for so long that I just got tired of it, and I got tired of seeing other people miserable, so I just wanted to like let them know there's other options. I think that's like that's not a thing as well, but like there's also a thing where like the truth also is a valid option. But that's what I'm saying is like the fact that they put up two different versions of moral options for me to have to choose is an extremely important thing to me. It's why I say that side quest will always be on my mind. Well, until I forget about it, which happens eventually, but it's something that resonates with me deeply. I think that's why I like the game so much, you know? Not only that, oh, there's also the other one. Did you get to the point with the girl with the paper stars? I think that was also a side quest as well. Or was it a main quest? I forget. But it was that one. You stepped very early? Okay, never mind then. But I can probably tell you that one. It's a side quest anyway. But there's this girl who dreamed of leaving the city, and her thing was that she spent so long dreaming of leaving the city, and she sees everybody leave, right? Because she's a train operator, and she basically had this thing where the more and more she saw people achieve her dream, the less and less she felt like her dream was valid, you know? That she was always gonna have to never just dream and never be able to wake from it. Wouldn't see it in her hands, you know? But we eventually got to a point where it's like, oh, we want to give you a box to put your dreams in so that they never fly away. And I was asked, do I respect her decision and give her the freedom to choose to not follow her dreams? Or do I push her to follow her dreams and basically let her go onto a treadmill of constantly chasing the dream, you know? And that was also another hard choice, and it's one of those choices where I have a regret of choosing what I chose. But the thing is, every single time I think about it, I don't know if I would have chose differently, which was to not tell her to have the box, or to tell her to have the box and either have her chase her dreams constantly, or have her respect her decision, essentially, right? To not chase the dreams anymore. And I chose to respect the decision to not chase the dreams, you know? I think freedom is extremely important to me, but I think dreams are also important to me as well. But the thing is, I think freedom kind of sort of it comes more important than that, you know? Where it's like your dreams will sometimes betray you and become more painful than not having a dream, if that makes any sense. But having the freedom to choose is something that I think was important. The thing is, though, I kind of sort of regret the decision, but I don't know if I would do differently if I could have the chance, you know? Because dreams and freedom are equally as important to me, you know? And it was kind of like a coin flip of what I should do. I think it did have a sweet ending, though, because they still made a star for her and said, I will make a wish that your wishes will someday come true. But I've always been like a reality sort of person. I've always had this weird relationship with fantasy where I live in fantasy in games, but I've always been very realistic in real life. I keep the fantasies in the game, but like when it comes down to the actual straight up important questions, I'm usually gonna answer reality every time, you know? I think the reality was the dreams were hurting her, so why would I put her through that, you know? Which is probably not entirely accurate if you were to like look at it in a different point of view, which is actually why I regretted it. Is I started to see that probably wasn't a very accurate assumption at the time. Cause like, I think at the time my dreams were hurting me, and I guess I took it out on her. Which is probably not the best thing to do. Aw, man. No, I think I've always kind of been someone who... I think I've always been kind of someone who's been very like, Are you trying arcane loot boxes? Hell yeah. I think I've always been kind of someone who's been like a very moral person, but I always have this thing where it's usually not corrupted by reality. By fantasy, sorry. It's not corrupted by fantasy, you know? It's a weird little thing where like there's kind of like a balancing act of fantasy versus reality when it comes to moral stuff. Like it's like a weird thing where like people can take the moral high ground all they want, but sometimes there's things that you can't really ignore, you know? I think that's kind of a thing that I've had as a thing as well, is like there's a decent amount of people who like to believe everything can be solved with like fairy tale or anime style like confrontations between good and evil, but it's not that simple. Especially when you factor in the reality of the villain has never been the evil person. The villain has always been the loser of the war, you know? I think that's something that a lot of people keep forgetting. remember there was a time where
Aboard from technology may work to the circulus's proximity. If you have a necromancer, you may use it.
yeah. Maybe I need money. Oh, okay. I'll grab you in a bit if I remember. But I think that's the thing I always have with, like, with moral stuff is unlike most people with moral stuff, mine isn't like locked down, but with fantasy. I understand there's just some things that really aren't moral that people keep trying to preach, and it's like there's just some things that really aren't like good that people think just romanticize, you know? And so it's kind of like one thing that's like a harder thing to hear that I tend to point at the most is like John Wick, the first movie. And people will always waive his actions. Yeah, I died horribly underwater in the background. Yeah, there's like a... No, I don't think so. But, there's like this weird thing where like, in John Wick, the guy like kills a lot of people. And it was kind of sort of over a dog. I understand it's like a thing where like, in the movie's context, right? It's a thing. Yeah. It's like a thing where it's like that, but like when it comes down to it, legally no, but morally yeah. But here's the thing. For me, the thing I would say for that is it's a dog, and there's a lot of people who will sacrifice a human being in order to save a dog, or they will take a person's life to avenge a dog. But I think there's a difference between like, did he kill his wife? No, they didn't. They didn't kill his wife. His wife was already dead. I don't think his wife died from those people either. Like when it comes to his wife, I would understand. But they killed his dog and they killed his then they broke his car, right? Keep in mind the car and the dog was from the wife, so I get the emotional baggage, right? But that's when I say you have to be able to remove emotions from the equation when you're dealing with actual morality, right? Because like what I could say for that when you chalk in emotions when it comes to morality is that you kind of start to think of it like this. Imagine if somebody had the same thing, but like it was for like a rat. You chalk it up to like a rat and like a slipper, right? Oh, this slipper came from my wife, and this rat came from my wife. This kid like flushed it down the toilet and then tore the slipper in half. Now I'm gonna kill his entire family, right? It's a little bit more in extreme. Well, it's also in some ways it's not, but it's like a thing where it kind of sort of makes sense if you were to put it in that context, right? Where it's an animal and it's an item, and yes his anger is understandable, but it's not justifiable. I think the one thing I'll say with that is this. Understanding a villain does not make their actions valid. Does that make any sense? It's like people who agree with people who waive the waive the accountability of like Thanos, for instance, where Thanos killed an entire universe's worth of people, and yet they justify it because he had a valid argument, or like he had a tragic past. A tragic past doesn't automatically excuse bad behavior, right? Oh, I was bullied as a kid, so I became a thief. Or, oh, I was treated poorly by my teachers, so I shot up a school, you know? Maybe that's a little bit too far. But you get where I'm coming from. Understandable does not mean excusable. I think that's the one thing that people seem to have kind of so forgotten about actual morality. It's like, you kind of sort of have to remove the emotional element. I think that's the thing that a lot of people struggle with, because emotions are such a strong factor in people's lives, you know? It might really depend on the circumstances, yes. I think one thing as well is, if you chalk it up to he wanted to confront one person, right? You chalk it up to, I want to confront one person. But like, these other people were trying to kill me, so I defended myself. That would be a little bit different, because he was defending himself. And he only wanted to confront one person, right? But 20, 30, 40 people, I think that's a little bit much, especially since most of those kills weren't even him defending himself, you know? I think we're mostly talking about John Wick in this like conversation as well. A guy who killed his son's worst, no, wait. The gun that killed his son's worst. No one should convict that guy for murder because no moral person should be able to look at that man and say he moved him. You, so the son's... Oh, I know where it is. No one should look at that man in the eye and face saying he moved him after the other man. Well, that makes sense, right?
That's it. You opened the relic. Finish your mission and we'll take a look inside.
I think one thing as well is that does very much make sense, right? When you chalk up the severity of the crime and stuff like that. But when it comes down to that, I say that's kind of sort of the fault of how justice works in the country, where the reason why he felt like he had to do that was due to the fact that he knows, not even that he thinks, he knows that the justice system is not going to do anything about it, you know? I think that's probably like a thing that really is important with that, you know? I think, so it's the kind of thing where like morally, honestly, yes, he was in the right, but Wick, not justified. I think, now what Wick is sitting around destroying an entire horror constantly, it probably most certainly has, that's what. Yeah. I think with that, I think with that, when it comes to like moral correct, that actually could work due to the fact that a cartel is the source of so many issues. And well, it wasn't this. Yeah, actually, was the cartel, yes. But the thing is, if I remember correctly, all he wanted was revenge, right? But if I remember correctly, he didn't make anything better or worse. He just kind of sort of switched like who was on top. And it kind of sort of continued happening, right? But he was taking out a gang, and that he used to work for that gang, actually, if I remember correctly. He was like a hired killer. You know my oh sorry Dorania. How's it going, Junis? How's it going? Sorry, I was talking. But it's an interesting thing where it's like vigilanteism is not the moral high ground, if that makes any sense. The problem is more centered around the source of that symptoms, which is the disease of
We have only scratched the surface.
that the people in charge don't do anything about shit like this, right? It's kind of like a thing of like I don't think I used to know. I think I still know him, but there's a person who used to take he was a fixer. That's the best way to say it, and he used to fix things that the police couldn't take care of because of some issue that usually would arise. The issues would be different each time. Usually it was like resources of like, do we really have the resources to do this?
Not be allowed.
But what they do is they, let's just say boop him. They boop the people who need to be booped, right? And, he said, like, yes, his stuff wasn't justified, but it definitely was on the moral high ground. But like the thing is, like, the authorities came to him to tell him, this is what we need, please do this, right? And so technically it wasn't justified, but it was morally correct. Where there's somebody, what was the scenario he told me? It was the fact that there's usually somebody who copies Jack the Ripper like every year or so, and nobody hears about them because they want people to not hear about it. But when they go to the fixers to have them fix it, you know? And they specifically went to his group and said to do with him. Yeah, Jack the Ripper apparently has multiple fans that come every year in a certain place. And nobody hears about them because the underground in that area handle the business, right? And they handle the business not because the officers don't want to do it. In actuality, most officers want to help, right? The problem is there's something blocking them from doing it, and it's usually tied to the process they have to go through, right? To get approval to do things for this. It's like, it's a business at the end of the day, right? But usually they would go to someone in the underground. I know a couple of people in different undergrounds, and they always say the same thing. It isn't the fact that they don't want to help, it's the fact that they can't. The people above them say no, most of the time. So they usually go to someone else to deal with it, you know? But they always say the same thing, is that it's morally justified, but it's definitely not legal. So it's not justified, you know? Because when it comes down to it, justified and morally correct are two different things, if that makes any sense. And that's usually what my argument is that justified and morally correct are like two different things. But a lot of people also take that as like committing a crime can be a good thing, but it really depends on the context as to what you're doing, right? A really like maybe small, not wholesome, but really small thing you could probably put up is stealing food because you need food. I think that's one thing that could be technically morally justified, morally correct, and maybe not justified, but morally correct. But there's also the thing of like stealing a video game, for instance, where it's like, for one, you don't fucking need the video game, and for two, like, you're not making the problem better, you're making the problem worse. So your actions are having more consequences than you're willing to admit. But not only that, you're trying to rationalize it as the moral high ground. But in most cases, they're stealing from independent developers, not the big man. So even then, it's even worse. It's not Robin Hood, it's the opposite. It's Hoodman. It's literally just Hoodman. Like how the bad neighborhoods are bad neighborhoods because everybody from your neighborhood is fucking with you. They're never going to somebody else's neighborhood because they don't want to. Is it more correct to pirate Adobe? I think okay. Let me think. Well, that's a good question. Because I was about to say yes, but you have this thing of like you really have to know the context, but I don't know the context. If I remember correctly, Adobe used to be free. You know what? That's a hard question because I know the answer is no, but I hate them too. But that's also a thing of like I also cannot remove emotions from it, right? But I don't know. I think what I'll say is this. That company basically has been shitting on all of us for basically trying to force us to do like to pay an extravagantly large amount of money for what is basically a basic function of a computer. I think, you know what, I'm gonna say it. It's morally justified. It's morally justified to, no, not morally justified. It's morally correct to do that. I think it's there's a different, okay, here's the thing. I think Adobe has this, I think computer companies specifically, but not, okay. I think Adobe has this thing where they're essentially offering a service that has been regularly offered for free for a very large price that is very unfair. I think, oh yeah, also hi Mob, how's it going? But I think that's probably something that I will say, is that when it comes down to it, Robin Hood did steal from the rich, but he only stole from the rich people who were bad, right? Because when it comes down to it, not all rich people are like the worst people in the world, but there are a lot of people who are that just so happen to be rich, you know? It's like the difference between, that's why I say like people always take the high ground when it comes to pirating, but they never steal from Nintendo. They never steal from, who's another company that really sucks? I'm trying to think. Blizzard? Would I say Blizzard? I'm not sure if I should say Blizzard. Because it really depends on like the malice of it, right? I think Nintendo's like maliceful. Like they have malice. Yeah, like whenever I see somebody posting online about how they steal from video games, specifically the ones that post online specifically, is they steal from independent developers, but they always announce it afterwards. But they never announce stealing from Nintendo. They will always announce stealing from independent developers. I think that's what the issue is. Because they don't have the balls to announce that they steal from Nintendo. I think that's my thing. Whether or not they do or not is really like, I don't know. Yeah. I think one thing as well is I think this is my thing. You can't claim Robin Hood if you're not doing what Robin Hood did and only stealing from people who deserve it. No, like only stealing from people who are malice, like have malice towards you, right? Who hate you, who essentially are treating you like garbage, like a wallet instead of an actual person, right? But if you're doing that to an independent developer, it's like instead of robbing Walmart, for instance, you're robbing a mom and pop shop where the only employees are family members, right? That's how I feel about it. Is like there's a difference between the two. I think when it comes down to it, that's what kind of sort of drives me up the wall when it comes to a lot of pirators, is that they're just pirates. There's a reason why they're called pirates. They have no morals, essentially. But yet they want to take the moral high ground, like they have to do this. I don't buy Nintendo, I still play Nintendo, exactly. But I'm pretty sure you don't steal, like, what's a good example of a game? What's a good example of a game? Well, it's less about stealing it, because I always had this thing where like stealing really isn't like such a massive crime to really be like seen as like a massive sin, right? Something that should be punishable to the fullest extent of people's power. I think it's more like a thing of like it should be punished, but not to the point of like excess, you know? I mean, it should be called out, but a lot of the time, like, I mean, technically I'm still alive because I stole, right? I understand like some thieves are like that way. What I have a problem with is more taking the moral high ground of it, you know? When it comes down to it, it's like, yeah, you steal, but you shouldn't be taking the moral high ground, you know? Because stealing is stealing. But when it comes down to it, like, it's like, if you're gonna play Robin Hood, you gotta keep in mind that Robin Hood only stole from people who deserved it, you know? Nintendo made a pirate legally wage slave, so what they do have morals? Yes. When it comes down to it, like, Nintendo, even if it isn't a morally justified thing, they still deserve it, right? Because stealing is stealing. You usually don't have to steal, and I think that's what it is. It's morally justified if you have the situation where you can genuinely say you need to, right? But if it's something you do out of malice or hate, or just because you can get away with it, right? That's different. But there are people who deserve it, and I think that's the difference. Is people who deserve it and whether or not it's morally correct is like two different things. That's something I kind of sort of kept forgetting to mention. Is that there's a difference between this is moral and this is deserved. That's something I think I kept forgetting to mention, because I think that's an important piece of context to how I feel about it, right? I think people usually keep pretending that deserved means moral, right? If you're an asshole, you do deserve an ass whooping, but is it the morally correct thing to do? No, you just assaulted somebody. Is it funny? Maybe. Depends on how like hard he hit the ground. But morally justified? Probably not. Deserved? Yeah. You know? It's kind of like stealing from Nintendo. Do they deserve it? Yeah, they do deserve it. Is it morally justified? Probably not. I think that's what the thing is. I think that's how I feel about it. There's a lot of people who deserve things that aren't entirely like the greatest, but it's also wrong to do it, right? I think I kind of have to think of like an eye for an eye, or essentially equivalent exchange, kind of like alchemy, where it's like the punishment has to like equal the sin, if that makes any sense. Going above and beyond that really isn't necessary, and that's when it loses its morality, right? But there's some things that seem harmless to some people that is probably worth like really major consequences, you know? I guess like stealing a candy bar versus stealing the medicine from somebody's cabinet is like, those are still stealing, but it's stealing two completely different things that have two completely different like amounts of how fucked up it is, right? Sure, like, if you steal a candy, you should get slapped across the face. But you steal someone's medicine, you deserve jail time. You know? Because you never know how important that medicine is to them. Right? I think that's like a thing that a lot of people have, as well as like a misconception of like morality, is that it's about equivalent exchange, like alchemy, right? And there's some things that are just not as bad as stuff. If your large company piracy isn't worth pursuing, cause you absolutely make enough from people that buy a few hundred people. Yeah, exactly. That's my thing as well, is like a lot of pirates make things worse, but I think there's a thing where it's like a snake eating its own tail thing, of like yeah, theft is a different thing, yes, but piracy and differently is like its own thing as well. But like when it comes to piracy, it's like, because I pirate some stuff as well, but I don't take the high ground when it comes to it. But I also say like, well, a lot of them don't deserve it, but I think it's like this, where the way I see it is, I'm not gonna justify nor take the moral high ground. My argument has never been like, should you do it, right? Because like it's deserved, and there's also like things where your circumstances are in a situation where it's the better option, right? But the only problem I ever had is like people saying that like they're Robin Hood. I've always had like a problem with the Robin Hood story, I think. That's probably where it stems from. It's like I have a problem with the Robin Hood story, right? The one thing that Robin Hoods usually do is make things worse. I think that's something that people don't really take in consideration. A lot of people who pirate usually cause a lot of the protections against piracy to happen. Problem is, when you have a lot of companies focusing so much on anti-piracy, they ended up causing the game to get worse in order to fix this problem, which causes people to want to pirate a bit more, because the whole point as to why they're pirating it is because they don't think it's worth their money, right? But they still want to play it. I think that's what I'll probably say about the adult games I pirate sometimes, is that the adult games usually just aren't worth my money. But I'm not going to take the high ground. I'm not going to say that I'm doing the right thing, you know? Because I'm literally just pirating porn, you know? Yeah, I'll play the game, but it's not like I'm gonna like... Not like the asking price is worth it, you know? I think when it comes to the big games, like the Nintendo and stuff like that, I don't like any of the games enough to pirate them. But if I do, I'm not gonna take the high ground. Because I have this thing where it's like, I know it's not morally correct. You know? Justified, also not justified. Is it deserved? Hell yeah, it's fucking deserved. They're asking. Okay, here I'm going on a bit of a tangent. You know they're asking $90 fucking dollars for a fucking go-kart game. I fucking hate that shit. It's a fucking go-kart game. I'm still pissed off about that, and I'll always be pissed off about that. Then they have costumes that, instead of like, okay, they don't have the Mii's anymore, so they don't have a custom character. What the fuck do they need costumes for? Oh, just so they can have like another character. Yeah, fuck that. Like, you're pushing the open world, which I guess is like cool for some people. But I'm sorry, but like, it's cool, but Mario Kart is not even worth $70. Why are you asking me $80, $90 for a fucking go-kart game? No amount of novelty fun with Mario is gonna be worth $80, I'm sorry. Not only that, but I'm not even gonna play it anyway. But I'm still gonna complain about it. Cause they're asking $80 for a fucking go-kart game. I don't need luxury, like it's something I don't need, but I'm still gonna be pissed off about that. Because when it comes down to it, like, that's too much money. I'm not playing Mario Kart for $80, I'm sorry. Not even $90. I'm doing that. Either put that shit on sale or I'm not touching it. You know? Oh god, luxury and attitudes for massively overpriced. Exactly! Exactly! Luxury is not an excuse for massively overpricing shit. I'm not paying more for a brand. Okay, here's what I'll say. I'll use wallets as an example because I have like a wallet. My wallet is a wallet that was like $30, right? Right next to it was a wallet that was $60. You want to know why I didn't grab the wallet that was $60? Because it was a shitty wallet. I'm not grabbing a shitty wallet when I could grab a better wallet for $30 that's literally right next to it. I'm not doing that. Like, why the fuck would I spend that much money on something that's an inferior product to the thing that's cheaper? Right? It's the whole thing why I say I agree with the Hollow Knight thing. For my video wallet, it was the best $10, not $5. Yeah. Yeah. But like when it comes down to it, right? That's one of the reasons why I say like I agree with the Hollow Knight situation, right? The fact that the Hollow Knight is $20 makes me think, why the fuck would I buy Mega Man for $60 when I can play Hollow Knight for $20? You know? I'm not doing it. I'm not gonna play Mega Man for $60 when I could play fucking Hollow Knight for $20. But frankly, the quality of game in Hollow Knight is higher than the quality of game in Mega Man. I know there's a lot of people who might be Mega Man fans in the chat, and I'm sorry if it offended you, but like that's how I feel. No, genuinely, I'm sorry if I offended you. But that's how I feel about the game. Is like, I don't think Mega Man it is like gonna be a game that I'm gonna be spending like $60 on, you know? Yeah, and that's the thing is like, it's the quality versus the competition. This is why competition is extremely important. you know? Because you look at the competition, you're like, oh, there's what Mega Man, Sigma 60. They're gonna get a new Mega Man game, I think. The new Mega Man game is coming out soon, I think. Was it a new Mega Man game? It was some sort of game that was coming out. I think it's a Mega Man game. But there's a new game coming out, and it was just announced earlier. But it's gonna be a full price game because it's Capcom, you know? I don't know if it was Mega Man. I just know that they have this thing where they announced it and it was like, oh cool, a contender for Hollow Knight. I wonder if it's gonna be worth the price. Proceeds to look at Hollow Knight gameplay compared to the gameplay on the game. I forget what it was though. Collections is being 60 actually justify they don't have to charge much. Paying $60 for a single game. Oh, is it a collections game? Okay, that changes things. Cause they're giving me multiple games for 60 bucks, right? If that's the case, then I don't mind that. Okay, if that's the case, I don't mind. If it's a collections means they're gonna have like multiple. Oh, dude. Ooh, actually. Oh no, I think I kind of sort of appreciate that. If it's probably gonna be 40. If it's gonna be 40, that'd be great. I'm not gonna lie, that'd be amazing. There's so many Mega Man games I missed. I think the first Mega Man game I ever played was Mega Man 8. I didn't know who Mega Man was at the time. News did not travel fast in my neighborhood. Especially since like I was like one of the only gamers in the entire area. Gaming here in Hawaii really isn't a big thing. I'm insta buying the Steam frame. Hell yeah. Yeah, so I'll say that. Since Mega Man is giving multiple games and I know the quality of Mega Man, then I know damn well I'm probably gonna appreciate the game, right? One thing is though, I'm probably not going to buy the game because I didn't buy Hollow Knight, but I use that as an example. Steam frame first, then GameCube after. Yeah, that makes sense. But I think it's also another thing of like, okay, here's my thing when it comes to consoles and when it comes to PC, like the console war is essentially what it is. I have this thing where a lot of this stuff is like way too expensive. And a lot of people would say, but the Nintendo got a lot of numbers, yeah, but my thing is like it's Nintendo. But it's also this thing of like scalpers are a thing, and you gotta kind of sort of have to be aware of that. And that's the thing that people should be a little bit more aware of. As scalpers exist, and unsurprisingly enough, scalpers have been the reason for like a lot of game companies getting a lot of money. Mostly because like scalpers will kind of sort of just buy anything in order to scalp it. We didn't have a scalper problem here in Hawaii as much because not many people like think about scalping. But I know scalping is a really huge problem in the mainland. In fact, I didn't know what scalping was until like a couple of years ago. When I got on the internet, and I think What if Nintendo wants to use illegal as something actually good go for after developers? Yeah, that's also. I believe that too. I honestly believe that. It's like, why? If you want to use the legal things like fairly, why not actually go after the people who are actually like very harmful to your community, you know? Because the scalpers are, they won't use because scalpers in instant massive payday. Yeah. But it's like a thing where it's like, that's the difference between Nintendo and Digital Extremes. Digital Extremes, they care about all of their people, right? And you don't get that from Nintendo, right? And I think that's like a kind of a horrible thing, actually, where it's like Digital Extremes is like the smaller company. It sucks to hear that, you know? Yeah. Hi, Jackson. Did I see you already? I don't know, I'm sure if I did. How's it going? But like, Nintendo does kind of suck. Not even kinda, they do suck. But like, there's so many other companies out there that care about their players that are getting a lot more traction. I think one thing is though, people also gotta remember that like, the majority of players are just regular Andes and they're not really in the know of video games, so they're not really gonna be like having opinion on stuff like this. To them, Nintendo is Nintendo, right? Remember one time I wanted to say goodbye, I said Zani, to your mistake, and it was a typo, it was on YouTube? Yeah. But, yeah. I think my big thing is, like, I've always, like, disliked Nintendo, kinda. I think it started when I heard how they sue people, and I'm over here like, there's so many like different ways you can handle like situations like that, you know. And I've always believed that competition is extremely important for businesses, and the reason why is because I see it every day. Like, I use McDonald's as an example. The reason why our McDonald's are so clean and so well made, and they put together like actual good sandwiches, is because we could always go to the McDonald's down the street. So they're literally contending with somebody else, and if all the McDonald's suck, we're all just gonna go somewhere else. That's just how it works. We don't want McDonald's that bad. We're gonna go somewhere else if it actually ends up pissing us off, right? We speak with our wallets here in Hawaii. If somebody doesn't provide us a good enough service, we're not gonna give them money. And the music is annoying as hell, yeah. Oh, music copyright is annoying as hell, yeah. But like, it's an unfortunate situation where, it's an unfortunate situation where, the average player just isn't gonna be knowledgeable enough to really have an opinion on these things, you know? And people don't understand the power of like advertising, but Nintendo advertises everywhere. Nintendo is everywhere, but not everybody watches YouTube. Well, not everyone watches YouTube for like video game news or anything like that, right? So the fact that Nintendo is fucking everywhere and everybody already knows Nintendo is really important, because nobody knows that there's other options in some cases, right? The only people who know there's other options are people who watch YouTube videos, and that's a very small amount of the community, right? Comparatively to the actual like average player, you know? That's one thing I always like mention because it's very important to understand. Because like being the yeah, remember the average person is not an idiot? Yeah, it's something I always say is like I always say this, never underestimate the stupidity of the average person. It's a thing that I always say is like, people would say, oh, why is there so much yellow paint everywhere? That's not for you. That's for the average player. The problem is that the average player doesn't give a shit about all the things that we complain about, right? I think that's something that a lot of people seem to forget is quality is probably subjective to a point where what we say is a bad quality really is not a bad quality to like somebody who just picked up the game at like Walmart and is now trying to really excited like looking at reading, like the kind of people who would read the rule book while they're driving home, right? Not driving home, but like while their mom is driving them home, right? That's the kind of people we're dealing with, you know? A lot of them don't even remember what it's like to have a full-on book in there, you know? Get over a strike idiot? Yeah. But,
It is done.
yeah, like, never underestimate the stupidity of the average player. I think that's the one thing that I always say. Even though it sounds really mean, you gotta keep in mind, if you're watching a YouTube video or a Twitch streamer stream a video game, you're already not the average player. Does that make any sense? Yeah. Oh, I got a strip. I'm hot. Finally, it's not fucking raining and cold. I gotta brush my teeth though. I need to get ready for the dentist. Also got mutagen? Hell yeah. Okay, you know what's also another thing? Oops, wrong thing. I'll probably use like story in video games as an example. Not everybody's gonna be super into not everybody's gonna be super into video games to a point where they will analyze a story and say, how does this resonate with me, right? Most people don't really care about that, you know? I think it's one of the reasons why Duet Night Abyss really isn't doing well. It's kind of a thing of like, nobody knows what the game is, if that makes any sense. But also the thing of like, it's a story-based game with action game gameplay. And when it comes down to it, third-person shooters, I don't think they've ever been like a story-based thing, right? Even people who like actually play Warframe, a lot of them don't really talk about the story because they don't really care all that much. I noticed. Like they find it interesting. Like, it's like that thing of like, nobody understands the story. If you actually pay attention, it actually spells it out pretty well. The problem is, not everybody's paying attention. You know? Nobody does what I do and like, oh, they're talking now, let me stop. Let's go again. Oh, they're talking now, let me stop. You know? a lot of people don't even get the entire conversation, you know? No one slows down their attacks on the enemies just so they can hear what characters are saying so they can get better context as to what they're feeling, you know? Hell, one of my biggest regrets of Duet 9 Abyss actually was killing that one boss too quickly because it was such an important boss that I missed entire context as to what she was saying, you know? But the thing is, you know, I was just too powerful, you know? I wanted to shoot her once, but I didn't let go of the button fast enough. I wasn't able to get just a little bit of context into what she was saying. I'm just really glad there's the second part where I was forced to play as a different character, you know? Because at least that character was at level instead of OP, you know? Because, I'm not gonna lie, I felt a little bit of dread when I wasn't able to hear everything. But the average player would just breeze through the game without really paying attention to the story, you know? But I think the story is usually there just for people who like the story. I think that's what I usually think. One thing I did notice though is that most of the Genshin community is a part of the community, if that makes any sense. Most of the Genshin community are checking stats, reading up on lore, watching videos. It's one of the reasons why Genshin videos have a lot of people watching them. It's the fact that like there's a lot of people in Genshin's community that watch people, you know? I know sometimes like there's some Genshin people who do stuff like that. I'm waiting for Anemo and Ananta. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Not only that, but I think I saw commercials about them a lot. So that's cool. Oh! You know, I think would be a really cool thing that could help gaming as a whole that YouTube could do. This probably sounds really weird, right? But if the problem with gaming is that nobody knows the game was coming out, why not spread commercials to anybody who who watches anything about video games? Because I noticed that a lot of the commercials only pop up if you've already seen something about the game. Because I only saw Enfield stuff after I watched an Enfield video. But apparently the commercials have been going for a while. But I think people misunderstand the power of commercials. Because like, there's a lot of games I got super interested in because I saw a commercial, but it wasn't until like I watched a list that mentioned them. The commercials usually are a little bit more interesting than people think they are, and a lot of people put a lot of effort into them. There's also some commercials that are just like not very interesting. One thing is though, some games just aren't good. But there is sometimes where the game probably feels like it was pulled back too soon. Not all the time, but sometimes. Like, after people calmed down and stopped laughing at the nerd, people did recollect and actually say that Concord really did actually have some pretty interesting gameplay. The problem is that didn't come with anything new. I think what my thing is like, it also never told anybody it existed. Then again, you know, most people want something new. They don't want a copy. Concord. Apparently the gameplay was like interesting. The problem is that it was just another Overwatch clone, but like, why would you do something like that when you have Overwatch? Does that make any sense? It's like a thing where like things that are unique are really important because in order to beat the competition, you need to beat the competition. So the best thing to do is to not be someone's competition. Does that make any sense? Like, you're never gonna make a Genshin killer, so the best thing to do is to make it a game that feels and plays completely different. When it comes to Duet Night Abyss, I say that's also valid. Stop cloning, be original, and you don't clone. You must be better than your dead water. Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. Stop cloning, be original. If you have to clone, you must be better, or you're dead in the water. I think that's something that is really important with Duet Night Abyss, where they are trying their best to be something different, because everybody has been telling them that the problem isn't their quality. The problem is that they're copying Warframe too much and not adding enough like things of their own. But lately they have been doing a lot better, right? What they actually decided to do apparently is they decided to experiment with open world like MMO stuff. So it's probably gonna go into being like a Warframe MMO, which I think is actually really fucking cool. I want that. And it's also gonna be open world mostly, which they've been experimenting with. I kind of want that. I want an open world like Warframe, because I'm one of those weird people who actually like open world in Warframe. I just don't play it much because it's not as interesting for the stream specifically. But I love the open world in Warframe. The fact that Duet Night Abyss is literally just open world Warframe, and we're gonna have actual MMO properties, is actually really cool. So anybody who likes open world in Warframe is definitely gonna like open world in Duet Night Abyss. Because you can just randomly run into a person just running around, and you get to see their sparkliness and like their colors and stuff like that. It's really cool. But basically what I'm saying is, I think Duet Night Abyss's best option is to not be Warframe. That makes any sense. It's fine to take ideas from different games. There's no such thing as a original idea, but I think so. Have you ever fought a snowman? Would they likely please themselves in the snow? I don't know. That is a good question. Yeah, but yeah, it's a... Warframe players don't say you should play our game at WikiNet. Yeah! Warframe players have this interesting thing where we're a very loving community, and I think that's pretty important, because a community can make or break a game, and especially with a game as broken as Warframe, which I guess it's unfortunate for anybody who usually expects me to talk pretty good about Warframe. But when it comes down to it, Warframe has this thing where its community does a lot of heavy lifting for all the situation of a game it is sometimes. It's mostly talking as a Yureti player, where because I play Yureti, I understand how buggy the game can really be, and how disheartening it can be to be in a situation where your favorite character is like so buggy as to cause you to not want to play anymore. Because you want to play that character, but that character is buggy as hell. And Yureti isn't even the only character that's like this, right? She is just the worst example. But the game has this thing where it kind of sort of waives the bugs and stuff like that just from being a genuine loving community. A genuine loving community that a genuine loving community that the developers are a part of. And I think that's also really important. The developers are just gamers. They play video games because they are gamers, right? Usually I don't like using that word, but it is the most apt word. Where they play video games, so therefore their words are valid. You know? I think that's one thing I'd probably say would be really important for most game devs is right now everybody is begging for game developers to be gamers, people who play video games, because it's too many people who just are businessmen rather than actual gamers, right? So they don't really understand the plight of the gamer, if that makes any sense. And there's this thing where there are sometimes where they do care, but they have this thing where they start off a bit rocky. Like, I keep going back to Duet Night Abyss, but it's very apt to like talk about them. Where they start off rocky, but they've proven that they care enough to listen. But I think that's the part that's really important, is like being able to listen to us is probably a lot more important than people let it up to be, right? Because in a world where our voices don't matter, it's nice to go into fantasy and be able to have our word be no. You know? I think that's the whole point of like video games in general, is like knowing that your choices matter, or like playing pretend that your voices matter. I think that's the beauty of video games, right? Not only that, but when you actually go into the community of video games, the fact that you can get into an argument about something that is just a regular post, there's a reason why people do it so much, is the fact that they had a thing. Contrary perform autofellatio, I must study. Yeah. Like the fact that somebody would say, hey, like I like this frame, for instance, and somebody would say, no, I like this frame better. The fact that somebody's opinion was so important as to cause them to do. Yeah, what do you mean, yeah. Yeah. I love gaming because of that. We need more of that. We need more of our opinions mattering in real life, I think. The best way to do that? Have the devs listen. That's all we ask from developers. If they just actually listened to us telling them there's a problem and understanding that there's a problem, and at least making attempts to fix it, I think we would be so much better off, you know? Here's a good example. We just talked about Nintendo. You know, Nintendo has been told, hey, there's a problem for so long that they just seem to have tuned it out instead of actually kept listening. But back in the day, they used to listen, but the original CEO of the company decided, yeah, I'm not gonna listen anymore. No, that's not what he said. He didn't decide anything. He actually died. My bad. That was the wrong word. But the original company owner died. So he ended up getting, his company ended up getting taken over by people who just want money. The problem is, listening to your customer is what gets you money. I think that's the thing that a lot of people don't really realize. Like, unfortunately, when it comes down to it, you know, it really is the thing where your customer's opinion actually does matter. It's how you defeat the competition. Because your job is to give us what we want, if that makes any sense. I think that's the thing that people forgot about when it comes to business. Giving the customer what they want is the most important thing, because it's the thing that gives you money. Why do you think Walmart is so popular? Because Walmart decided that's just gonna give us all this shit in one place, so we don't have to go anywhere else, which is exactly what we want. You want meat? Meat section. You want microwavables? Microwavable section. You want cakes? Go to the cake section. You want to go to McDonald's after shopping? Go to McDonald's after shopping. There's a reason why McDonald's is not, there's a reason why Walmart is so popular. That's how capitalism works. You provide me something worth my money, I'm gonna give you money. You make it too inconvenient or too expensive for what it is, I'm not giving you shit. And the people who give enough value will win that, will become more powerful. I think we're in a situation where the companies that are really big right now are so big that they think they can't be beaten. But the little companies are coming in and outperforming them. So they're in an ultimatum. Either give us what we want or you're gonna fail. And they're not, a lot of them are, some of them are choosing the right choice, but some of them are not. Also, let's see if we could go to a mission. Where are you? Where are you? Oh, you're not even here anymore. Let me see. But I think that's the thing that a lot of people seem to have kind of started running into. Oh, you have to dry dock? Oh, okay. But I think that's something that's really important when it comes to things like this, you know? Is that a... Oh, this is Asagoshi Tenno. Not the actual person, but this is her. This is not her. This is actually his thingy, his icon. You know how long it's been since I've seen fucking Asagoshi Tenno? That dude's channel is fucking gone. He stopped being a content creator. I think he said he would come back and like do memes every once in a while just to pull the whole Life of Rio thing and just shit on Warframe. I was like, I don't want to see that. At the time I was pissed off at Warframe too, but I was just like, I don't want to just continue to consume it to a point where I overload myself with hate. Because that's kind of some of my thing. It's like I don't like consuming too much hate because I'm already an extremely hateful person. Hell, I spend a lot of the time during the talking sections of my streams hating on shit. If you want to know somebody who's got a lot of fucking hate in their system, it's me. Unironically. Probably not the best thing to be like... Probably not the best thing to be like... Not the best thing to be like announcing too much, but like I've always been, well, it's not even always been, I've always been a loving person, but the way I think is, the reason why I'm so hateful is because my love has been betrayed a lot. But I've always been a very loving person, but the people who are capable of love the most are usually like the ones capable of the most hate too. You know, I already area meta games, yeah. And my thing is like, I don't get mad at games as much either. What I do get mad at is like interruptions. I do not like interruptions. I really don't like interruptions. If I'm doing something and my computer fucking shits out, I get so pissed. But the thing of like, when I'm doing something or I'm in the middle of something, I don't like being brought out of it. Does that make any sense? Because like my big thing is like, I really don't like it when I'm in the middle of something and the world just says, no, you have to stop when I'm not ready to stop, you know? I've never liked interruptions. Another thing as well is like disrespect. I think I've always also never really liked disrespect. But here's the thing, is like those two things happen so often that I just kind of sort of became a very hateful person. So I've always been like super like loving. I've always been a very loving person. But there's a lot of things that kind of sort of like punish me for being a loving person. And that's what usually caused me to be like extra hateful. It's because I started like leaning the other direction because I care so much, you know? That's why I say like people capable of the most love are usually the people capable of the most hate too. I see it in myself, you know? All I want to do is like be a happy little bundle of sunshine that helps people. But basically what it is, that kind of sort of boils down to the bullying. Like not even like, and I think that's the thing is like it's like a thing that's happened for like ever since I came to school. To not just school life, but also like dealing with people personally. To a point where that's actually the source of my PTSD. Is the amount of bullying was so bad that I think in total, I think it was all the way from when I was like 4. I started school when I was 4. But it's from 4 to, it was from 4 all the way up into, it was from 4 all the way up until, I think it was 16. Because I moved to a different school when I was 16 that finally didn't have a bully. I was bullied for a long time. And that's, people would say, oh, but like bullying giving you PTSD is weird. Yeah, but like that's what real bullying looks like. A lot of people say, oh, I was bullied as a kid. I'm over here like, were you bullied as a kid or did you just have a bully in high school? Because there's a difference between the two. Because if somebody were to know what real bullying is like, I don't think they would say, hey, I want bullying to come back. And that's how I usually can tell. But as a bullied kid, I think bullying should come back. I don't think you know what bullying is, sir. I don't think you do. The kind of shit that will change your life into being a basically a lesser version of like a life. You know, that's the kind of shit that I'm talking about. You know? Literally giving you like actual PTSDs. Like that's the kind of shit that people deal with when they're talking about actually being a bullied kid. Because having a bully in high school really isn't the same thing. Because that's just like 1 year, or like that's like 2 years. But imagine it being like almost a decade. That's bullied kid. That's different, you know. I think that's where my hate comes from. Is less about how I am as a person and more about the PTSD. I think it's very difficult for me to adjust to it too, because when it comes down to it, that shit doesn't go away. So I think people always talk about like PTSD like it's some sort of like badge of honor. No, it's a life-changing experience. Because it's a disease, and this kind of disease does not ever go away. It will always be with you. I think that's the thing that a lot of people forget about the bullying thing. I don't... It's a weird thing where, like, It's a weird thing where, like, there's a... I don't know, it's, I guess, like, a spectrum to it, too. Like, most things are a spectrum. Like, how severe of it is. But I guess mine was, like, extra severe. Because, like, I know, like, a couple kids, a couple people who end up getting PTSD and stuff like that. But they're usually the mentally ill people. It's kind of a thing, that's the one thing, is like, we never recover from it. It's permanent. And I think it's very difficult to explain to people too when it comes down to like explaining real PTSD. Because people always see the movies and how it is in the movies. It's not like that. It's not like you're getting trapped in another world. That's not how PTSD works. Triggers don't work like a vivid hallucination of being back in the war or something like that, right? That's not how that works. But it's not even like a very accurate way of how it works. It's more like it causes a rush of very, very, very horrible emotions. And it's very hard to control yourself when you're very emotional. You know? When people say it brought me back, usually what they're saying is like something reminded them of it so hard that they couldn't control the emotions because the emotions were so aggressive, you know? You know, it's a good example. I can actually use this as an example of what I'm doing right now. Mentioning it in a random conversation can cause you to go on a massive tirade about the subject. I think that's a good sign of like this person's done or something. I catch myself doing it nowadays, but sometimes I don't stop it because it's usually something important I want to say. But sometimes it's like it's best to like try my best to get out of it. It's not easy though. It's also a thing of like flashbacks do happen sometimes, but it's not like it's not like it's playing in your head as if it's just happening. It's more like the memories will play themselves and the wounds will open up again. I think that's one thing that's a little bit interesting to mention because I've heard a lot of people say some weird things sometimes. Also, don't mind the fact that I'm at 100 health. I am currently suffering from a Urani bug. I don't want to bring Araxia in here though, but I probably should have. Oh! You have a good example of like the different type of PTSD I have. You know, like whenever somebody has a disrespectful comment and I really want to say something, it's tied to the bullying thing, where it's like I constantly want to snap back. I constantly want to say something. And it's like a thing of like, back when I used to do that, I used to be punished for it. I think it's very similar to like now. But the thing is, like nowadays, there's people who actually support me when I have a problem. I know there are like people on the internet and they're like audience members sometimes, but sometimes I gotta remember like, this is in high school. It's not like I'm gonna be punished for trying to defend myself. That's not how. It's not how the real world works, necessarily. At least not in my experience. At least not where I've experienced the world. 'Cause I know it's like that in some other places, though. I know some people would say, "Oh, like, I usually use California as an example, but like California is like this." I'm here like, yeah, or like Mississippi, or like any of the places that are known to like not be as good, where you find a lot of people making it worse because they feel like it's funny. They want to join in. But here in Hawaii, that isn't entirely the case. At least when you get out of school. Even a lot of the bullies that I used to have are people who stopped being that way, or they've been punished for it, for continuing it. Because you can't do that in a workplace. And when they do that in a workplace, they learn really quickly that you can't be doing that in the real world. Oh, they learn very quickly. Anyway, see if I can pull myself out. I can't. I don't know what else to talk about. It's the only thing my brain is talking about right now. What usually helps is having a moment of silence. Maybe I can try that. I'll think of something once I recover from the little tirade. I haven't been in an arbitration in so long. Wait, what? That's crazy. I was not expecting to be doing that much damage. Oh my goodness. Ah, shit. I can't pick these up. I don't want to lose any more health. I'll keep these guys alive. Sorry about that. Oh, actually, yeah, I'll probably say, this actually just came to my mind. A lot of people say there's no good deed that goes unpunished. I think one thing that I noticed is that's usually a thing that happens in an immature setting. But whenever you go into like a mature setting, good deeds tend to be a lot more valuable. I've noticed this about I guess like the world, where the mature and like the ones that are like tend to have had a chance to grow and actually took that chance tend to be a lot more relaxed and chill. yeah, there'll be some of them who actually still want to achieve things, but they'll achieve things through like the strength of their word rather than the strength of their fist, if that makes any sense. But it's a weird thing where like even like an old man can be very immature, but like even a kid can be like super mature. And I think like there's a weird thing where like with maturity comes a more peaceful side of a person. Even someone who's like a soldier, for instance, if they're a really mature person, they're usually really calm, really collected. They're not so hot-blooded anymore. I know this because some of the most mature soldiers I've ever run into were Marines, and the Marines were so like calm. Hell, a lot of soldiers I've seen on the internet, at least like most of the ones that are like not like the ones that spend a lot of time on TikTok, those are different people. But like the ones that are actually like legitimately they're like the top of the top. They tend to be like a lot more chill. And they tend to keep their nose out of a lot of conversations because they want to, not because they want to avoid it, but because they know it's probably not the conversation for this time, you know? But I've met a lot of soldiers and they've all had like different personalities, but I will say a lot of the ones that tend to be like super successful are the ones who tend to be super mature. The ones who've been around, the ones who've been there for a while, you know? They take responsibility, they take accountability, they do things when they need to do things, you know? If they say they're gonna, if they make a promise, they're gonna keep it. And stuff like that. Especially the Marines. They have a lot more respect for them than most people. A lot more respect for them than you would think. They're probably one of the more mature people I've ever run into. I think one thing that is a little bit different though is nowadays I don't think we have very many mature people to pick from anymore. So unfortunately we had to lower the standards, I think. Actually, now that I think about it, that thing that soldier said did make a lot of sense, but I think they kind of worded it in a really combative way that probably wasn't entirely the most helpful. But then again, I did kind of sort of agree with them. But I won't get too far into it. I think it's usually a thing of like maturity is very important. That's all I'm saying. It's more of a thing that tends to be in the more calm and collected people, I think. The logical tend to be with more of the mature people. The one thing is though, there's a lot of people who pretend to be logical who are probably not the most logical. I mean, they get there sometimes. My thing as well though is emotion can usually lower the can usually make a bad idea into a good idea and vice versa. So I do feel for people who do really bad decisions when they're hyper emotional. But I do kind of think there should be more punishment for stuff like that. And I think how I feel about social media in general is I think there should be more punishment for inappropriate stuff. I know people don't like to be censored, but like there's some, it shouldn't be like a company doing it. I think it should be more like people doing it, where it's like if you say something fucking stupid, so people should let other people know that you said something fucking stupid, you know? Not a bullying thing, because I don't really believe in bullying. It's more like there's a difference between bullying and like giving like a criticism of like somebody's stupid shit. There should be more criticism of people saying stupid shit on the internet. But I think bullying is different than just valid criticism, right? It's not like exercising a superior strength or authority to cause emotional distress. It's more like, hey, you said something fucking stupid, don't say something fucking stupid again, you fucking idiot, you know? I think that's something that we need more of. Not bullying, because I think people say the word bullying, but it's not the word they mean. That's what I think sometimes. And there's also people who think that somebody having a valid criticism of them is a bullying thing. But it's usually just worded poorly, or sometimes it's not even worded poorly. Sometimes it's like, wow, you did that thing and it probably wasn't a good idea, and then like it turns into a massive fight. It's like, no, all I said was a bad idea. I didn't say anything bad. But yeah, there's a difference between bullying and having like a valid criticism of somebody's actions. I think that's what I'm getting at. I guess it comes full circle. Because I think one thing as well is, I can probably touch upon this. When it came to me and like accepting criticism, I think there's one thing where a lot of people would just say this is trash, but I'm like, why don't you say why it's trash? You say it's trash, but you don't say why. So I don't know how to improve because I don't know what the problem is. I know it's bad. I made it. I know damn well it's bad. Can you explain to me why it's bad so I can fix it? Because the reason why it's not fixed in the first place is I don't know why it's bad. You know? Oh.
Very impressive, Tenno. You held them all back. Time to get out of here.
GG! Yeah, I guess my brain went in a very interesting tirade, a little bit of a tangent factory over here. They probably would make a horrible video. The opinion videos are the videos that are currently like the super top popular ones, so I'm like, yeah. That's fine, that's fine. I just needed to rant about something because I went down a rabbit hole that I think I couldn't get out of. My bad, I kind of sort of went into like I went into a tangent, like a fucking rant, but I didn't know how to get out, and I guess I just needed to go through the whole entire hole until I came out the other side. That was just me trying to talk, I guess. Oh yeah, is it time? Oh, it is time. It's time for Duet Not Abyss. I'll stretch first. Oh my god, I need food. But I don't want to eat noodles because I'm getting too much sodium. What do I do? Do I just not eat? I could order something. How much money do I have? Man, I wish I had a 50% off on what you call. $71. Oh no. Okay, let me see. Let me think.
The system continues to fall into chaos. Check navigation for active invasions.
Happy hour? What the fuck you mean happy hour? This shit better be good. I'm actually kind of eepy. Oh, I thought the free delivery was on $14. It's on $12? I didn't know that. What? This whole time it's been 12? Did I already know this? I don't know if I did. How cheap can I make this? I can make this really cheap. Ooh. Why did I think it was 15? I don't know why, but I'm really tired. I think I might have to do it. I might have to end it early. Ah. You know what? With this amount of tiredness, I think it's gonna happen. I'm sorry. I need to, is there anybody to raid? Alright, let's go read Beanie. Sorry guys, I'm tired. Let's go raid.
Oh, I'm scared by the raid. Hello, welcome in.
Gena underscore memorizes
Welcome in,
rating for you.
ladies. I hope you're all doing well.
Hi, everybody.
Oh, wait. Yeah. How are we all doing? What were we doing tonight?
I love how Flowers always, like, this is the first time he's ever seen a raid.
It's just like a brand new concept
Yeah.
entirely.
EP, so ended stream early? No problem. I hope you get lots of rest.
Alright, YouTube, goodbye.